Good morning, everyone. And I know those who call me Pastor Director. I have earmarked you, and tomorrow I'm going to block you. But good to have you, and good to see all of you sign up early morning. So, how do we start this morning's presentation? You know, I am glad that you're on the call, and I thought I should brief you a bit about BLN first, and where we are and where we came to be where we are. Yesterday, we learned that humility is the ability to learn, and humble people are always learning. So in a special way, I appreciate each one of you for really signing up, because you have decided to be humble and decided to learn. In 2020, when I joined Worship Harvest, some of you think I was there in 1990. I was not. I joined Worship Harvest in 2020. And through Pastor Chris Kawesa, who invited me to Business Garage, and I thought it would be a one-off, and it became a two-off, and became a three-off. And I have never left since. But I met a gentleman called Tumwesije. He's normally here on the call, who linked me with Upmore, and then Upmore on Twitter Spaces mentioned my name, and I was invited to Papshenga's 360 degree, and that is how I began talking. Previously, I was not a person who would speak about anything, and I was not willing to share what I learned because I felt I had failed. But here we are, 3 years into this, and we are growing stronger. On the team, so we began these calls in the lockdown, and the idea was actually 5 minutes of encouragement and 5 minutes of teaching. That went on for about a year, and then when I wanted to close it down, the people objected, and so we got a team to work with. And on the team, as you're very well aware, I work closely with Chairman CD. I work closely with Investor Jonan and Pastor Rosemary and Pastor Precious. And of late, we have an adopted daughter who is Mona, who we have co-opted. And so that is how we've been running. And I'm so grateful for the team that I work with. I don't need to present every day, but there's a structure that we have that makes sure that the calls are sustained, and we hope that we deliver value each day. So let's dive into today's teaching. Today's teaching, I'll premise it on two sayings. Saying number one is, nothing is interesting when you're not interested. I got this from John Maxwell. So John Maxwell said that nothing is interesting when you are not interested. Now, that is anything. It can cut across anything anyway. The second law we're going to touch and repeat and re-echo on this call is going to be that a lack of responsibility is a lack of initiative. And we shall also say that a lack of initiative is a lack of responsibility. So two laws: nothing is interesting when you're not interested. A lack of responsibility is a lack of initiative, and a lack of initiative is a lack of responsibility. Now, I bring in this angle of in-laws, mother-in-law. And when I mention mother-in-law, don't raise your hand yet, but I want us to slide in and see how our relationship with our mothers-in-law can be. But our relationship with our in-laws can be difficult to navigate at times, even when we genuinely love them. So why not craft a way? Why not craft a strategy for the future? You may say, how can I think of the future in-laws when right now my home is like Gaza? it is like Ukraine, or it is the poster child of Putin and Ismail Haniyeh. And Ismail Haniyeh is the chairman of Hamas. So you may say, how can I think of my in-laws when my home is also a Gaza Strip? But I'm going to challenge you on one hand to think about a mother-in-law. I'm going to challenge you to think about a daughter-in-law. I'm going to challenge you to think about a son-in-law. I am also going to challenge you to think about parents-in-law. Again, I said earlier that nothing is interesting when you're not interested. But I'm challenging you to be interested in these characters: mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, son-in-law, and parents-in-law. You may think it is far-fetched, but let me bring it down. You should think about your parents-in-law. Your parents-in-law, in case you're in denial, is the family where your daughter will be impregnated, or your son will impregnate. So you had better think about that. I said the family-in-law is the family where your daughter will be impregnated or your son will impregnate. Dynamics change, temperatures change, and the future is different. Recently, a friend of mine told me her brother impregnated the neighbor's maid. And so the neighbor's maid has become an in-law all of a sudden. And so if nothing is interesting when you're not interested. Again, I say a lack of responsibility is a lack of initiative, and a lack of initiative is a lack of responsibility. Therefore, as parents, we need to decide ahead of time how we will receive, how we will treat those who our children will marry, or those who will marry our children. And my question to you is this: what will you do for him or her emotionally? What will you do for her financially? What will you do for him spiritually? You can put him or her, whichever it is. I'm not so diehard on whichever gender it is. So what will you do for him or her emotionally? What will you do for him or her financially? What will you do for him or her spiritually? And when you pass on, what do you want her to say? Or what is your legacy going to be? When we do this, we create a foundation for a healthy relationship, not only for our son and daughter-in-law, but we also cultivate and keep a strong and balanced bond with our grown child. You see, by thinking about your daughter-in-law, it actually strengthens your relationship with your son, because now you realize your son is going to be someone's husband, not just Sean the way you see him as Sean. So let's say that you're a mother of 4 boys. Have you thought about who God will lead them to marry and what you want those precious women to know? Or let's say that you have 3 daughters and you're a man that you dearly love. You work for them. Your life is them, and you are them. You call them sweetie and call their mom Nachi good day. But when you think about your 3 daughters, what do you think about the people who will marry them? But let us put together something tangible and concrete that can help us land the plane. Okay? So again, I'll re-echo that nothing is interesting when you're not interested. And a lack of responsibility is a lack of initiative, and a lack of initiative is a lack of responsibility. So this is what I think you can do. Get a piece of paper and write, because a lack of initiative is a lack of responsibility, and a lack of responsibility is a lack of initiative. So I'm going to read for you and give you a framework that you can work on and improve and adjust depending on how you want to see yours. But this is what I wrote. By the way, I have sons and I have daughters. In case you're interested, and in case you're interested, DM me. Dear future daughter-in-law, for my son in this case, wherever you are in the world, I want you to know that I can't wait to meet you. This is a letter I've written. Wherever you are in the world, I want you to know that I can't wait to meet you. And you are already loved by our family. From the moment our son was born, we not only prayed for him, but we prayed specifically for you. The thought in our minds has never left us. We know that God has amazing plans in store for both of you someday. As we all patiently await that glorious day, you two walk down the aisle. Your mother-in-law and I want you to know a few things. And these things, I will say them, but you're free to adjust what you want and, whatever you feel. And for me, this is what you would have wanted when you are getting married. Or this is what you would have wanted your mother-in-law to give you, your father-in-law to give you as you are getting their son or getting their daughter. Number one, I put together about 6 things. So number one, let's dive in. We support you in your autonomy as a couple. We support you in your autonomy as a couple. To put this plainly, I want to resist being all up in your businesses, in your business, in your faces, in your bathrooms. When you two marry, you become your own family. Your mother-in-law and I want to support you, you two, wholeheartedly in any way we can. But we also want you to we want to respect your privacy and have healthy boundaries in place. I promise we will call before we come over, and we will let you know way in advance when we want to come over, unless it's really an emergency. We want you to craft your family the way you have always dreamt of being. The scripture reference there is Genesis 2:24, where this explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united as one. Number two, when you marry our son, you'll be more than an in-law. You will be our daughter. We firmly believe that the two of you will fall in love and join each other in marriage, covenant, and become one. You will instantly not only become our son's precious wife, but our daughter too. What a shock and what a wow. We don't see you just as a girl who is legally wedded to our son. We see you as his chosen beautiful bride for life. We don't see you as other, but part and one with us. And if you want the scripture reference, there is Genesis 2:23, where the man says, "This is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh." Number three, we want to be a blessing to you. More than anything, we want to bless you, our son or our daughter, as much as we possibly can. God has so graciously blessed us with the two of you, and we want to be a blessing right back. In-laws get such a negative stigma sometimes, and we don't want to be that stereotype at all. We are for you, not against you. You come to us for anything. We are in your corner. We are your gamba nogu any day. We have your backs. We care deeply. And you can go on and on and on and on and on. Number four, we will all make mistakes. When two families join together, it can become complicated and messy at times. All of us will make mistakes. We may go through the Bruce Stackman model for forming, storming, and norming, and performing. We may judge wrongly. We may be quick to speak and slow to listen. Sometimes we may inadvertently say hurtful things not the same way we intended, but please be understanding. In those moments, I promise to seek your forgiveness and be truthful to you if my feelings have been hurt. If your feelings have been hurt, I ask you to do the same in order for our families to have peace. Peace, oh God, peace. I want you both to feel you can communicate with us freely. Please don't feel like you are walking on eggshells. Don't choke up on things. Don't die in your own movie. Number 5. Yes, I'm his father. Now, in this case, I'm the one talking. Yes, I'm his father, but I want to be your friend. I know you have your own father, and I know we want to feel and take that special place in your life. Respect and love your father and mother. They did a lot to bring you up this far. We want your family of origin to never worry to which family you went and if you have eaten food or not. I want to be your friend, your much older friend. I want to teach you everything I know and I die empty. I want to take you out to breakfast and go shopping. I want to watch the many grandkids. Many is in capital. And let you have a break, a much needed break. Always feel free to offload the grandchildren to me as need arises. I want to be on the other end of the phone when you need someone older and hopefully wiser at that point to talk to. I have worked in business, formed teams, taught at churches, clubbed, traveled the world. Please, let's be friends. So I look forward to that. Number 6, which will be our last. I have been praying for you, single and plural. I will continue to pray that God prepares your heart as you grow up. Dear daughter, I pray that you grow in wisdom and knowledge of the Lord. I pray he bestows many blessings on you and on your life. I pray he protects your heart and mind from sexual sin. I also pray that if you make mistakes, as many of us do, dear daughter, that you will seek his forgiveness and know that you are indeed forgiven. When your heart is broken, I pray you surrender it to God. Only he can make you whole. No man, including my son, can fill this hole in your life. You are a child of God. You are precious. I pray you don't lose sight of this. May you hold on to the hope of knowing that God has an amazing plan for your life. Please know that I'm praying for the very same prayers for my son. I greatly look forward to the day that he brings you home to meet us for the first time. I can't wait. I can't wait. That is repeated on purpose. But until then, please know that you're already loved by our family. With love and anticipation for the blessings to come, your future father-in-law, Grace Munira. Now, my challenge to you is this, and I want to give you a simple exercise. What would you write? What would you write in a letter to your future daughter, stroke, son-in-law? Try writing all this down and do not wait until the day they are married. You can do it right now. And by the way, you can write several letters as well. But I find one thing, that it will give you proper parenting and it will give you proper perspective. Maybe your son is not yet there. Your 15-year-old boy is as if he has no initiative, responsibility, and you're praying for your daughter-in-law, your future daughter-in-law, to be a good lady. Meanwhile, your son has no initiative, has no responsibility. Train up your son in such a way that he is a responsible man for the other daughter who is being raised by the other family. Train up your daughter in such a way that she's a good wife. Stop treating your daughter as your daughter. You're raising someone's wife. And that will be very, very important. What you say and what you do. But I'll end with this. Proverbs 22:6, I think it says that, train up a child in the ways of the Lord, that when he grows, he may not depart from it. That training is really imparting values and good values to your children. Do you know what really training means? When I was reading a certain book, I saw that this is what it means. You know how a mother eats the food and chews on the food, then spits it out and gives it to the child? Your child may ask you, I remember my daughter used to ask the mom for nuts when she was too young to eat nuts. So you get the nuts, chew on them until they are slurry, then spit it out and give it to your daughter or your son. That is what train a child in the ways of the Lord means. That you're literally getting your saliva into their mouth, or you're getting the contents of your tongue into their mouth. You're getting your ways into them so that they become better husbands and better wives. It is not training them to drive. It is not training them to play pool. Yeah. Again, I'll end with the two quotations that we started with. Nothing is interesting when you're not interested. 2, a lack of responsibility is a lack of initiative. And a lack of initiative is really a lack of responsibilities. Chairman, you must be having questions.
Yes, thank you, Director. I'm going to open up the floor for questions. There are lots of comments, but if you have a question if you have a question, you can quickly raise your hand, and we quickly choose you. There are lots of conversations from the chat room. Yeah. Yes, a lot of acknowledgements. But maybe as we're waiting for questions, I would ask Director.
Yes, sir.
As we are doing this for our children, does this same philosophy also work for maybe a child now writing to their mother-in-law, their father-in-law?
So you're writing to your future mother-in-law?
Yes.
I don't know. Frankly speaking, I don't know, but maybe. I think for me, it is, what do you want? Because I write to my future daughter-in-law because I have a son who I've been raising for the last 21 years. And so I want them to be in a better place. But I also look at it this way. There's someone raising their daughter for my son. And the daughter is maybe worried what my son will be like, what we will be like, what kind of people we are. Maybe we eat people. Maybe, we are cannibals and tulianavant. But the worry is, can I run to this family when things are hard? Can I open up to them? What kind of people are they? Are they judgmental? So I want to put that all to rest. From what I have seen, from the years I have spent and with the friends I've had, I am sharing this and I'm giving you a platform and I'm welcoming you. Now, you who is 22, what have you seen in this world that you're writing for me to learn? But I wouldn't say it's a bad idea, but I'm simply thinking that the reason why I write is that I've seen them days, the good and the bad and the ugly. So I am wanting you to come on board. Feel free. My son is not an angel, but I want the two of you to, and I have not just thought about you when my son said we're going to get married. I've been thinking about you way, 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 way before. And this is what makes it different from a wedding speech written a day before the wedding. There's no thought process. There's no level of responsibility put into it. There is no initiative taken in that case. And there is no interest as well. But if my son is 10 years now, and I write a letter, then to my future daughter, then I am going to train up my son in such a way that he fulfills all these things I'm writing to the daughter in order to be. And that when he comes and meets her, it will be a perfect match. That would be my thinking. Back to you, Chairman.
Yes, there are some questions coming in on chat. Someone asked how old is director's sons. I think you've already given that person a clue. The other question is, I think coming from a lady's perspective, how would you train a man to be responsible?
There are all kinds of there are all kinds of responsibility, the schools of thought. One, as you raise children, and especially when they hit teenage, do not be their rescuer. Do not be their rescuer. Let them feel the impact of their decisions, good or bad. For the men, you have to teach them to honor their sisters and you, the mother, to treat you well. If you're going to the car, you must issue instructions to your son to go ahead of you and open the door for you. Then you're training him to treat his future wife well. If you're the one who tucks him in bed, this dude will grow up to be a plump of a guy who wants to be tucked in bed. So give them responsibilities, hold them accountable, and let them face consequences. To the men out there raising boys, you ought to challenge your boys to really man up. And sometimes you have to be hard on them because the world is not simple. You have to be hard on them to really bring out the man in them. Again, there's another school of thought that says that men don't learn the easy way. They must learn the hard way. But again, the other thing is, do not discipline a boy the way you discipline a child, a girl. Have walks with your boy and teach him and train him. But above all, I think the best thing I would say is they will see how you treat their mother and how their mother treats you. And that sometimes you have to be intentional in modeling that. There is an article I read which intrigued me, that your children need to see you kiss your wife. But on this call, how many of you have kissed your wife while your children are seeing? Raise your hand if you have. Emily, I want to see your hand raised. If you've kissed your wife while your children are watching. Some of you have even never kissed your wife at all. Even when the children are not watching, you have not kissed your. And so make that regular and make that often. Now, I'll tell you a little story as we end. I used to kiss my wife whenever I go back home. Now, we had a daughter who was growing. She was 3 or 4 that time. And so she also wanted to be kissed on her lips. And that's where everything came nepo neika. And so we stopped doing that. But where you can, please go ahead and do that. Do not send emojis to your wife. Do not send emojis to your husband. Really do it. So life is good. Chairman, why don't you close us off and people go make money?
All right, thank you, Director. For those of you whose questions are still